This is the volleyball knee pain masterclass. So this is going to be basically all of the information that I have used over the past number of years to help hundreds of volleyball players not only be able to fix their knee pain, but help them jump higher, hit harder, and just get out of pain in general. So this is essentially a culmination of everything I've used with my own story, with working with a bunch of clients to just help them get out of pain and just be happier, healthier volleyball players. So really quick, who is this for? We generally work with volleyball athletes ages 25 to 50. We actually do have a client right now who's over the age of 50, but it's usually within that range. So I do target some of the language toward these people. Of course, this will work if you are younger, but it is generally targeted towards that group of people. So it is for people who are generally play recreational or semi-professionally in either beach, grass, or indoor. We actually signed up a guy today who plays 9-man. He is not the first one, and it's obviously those players who are dealing with knee pain. So it doesn't matter what you play, but if you're a rec or semi-pro player, regardless of what type of volleyball you play, this is going to help you. And then this is for players who want to jump higher, hit harder, and stop relying on things like NSAIDs and sleeves. So painkillers, knee sleeves, things like that. If you want to ditch the drugs, ditch the gear, this is going to be for you. So really quick, let's talk about an overview of what we're going to do today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my knee pain story. We're going to talk about the different types of knee pain. I'm going to tell you what to stop doing. I'm going to tell you what to start doing. And then I'm going to give you an example workout, just bringing everything together as a culmination of something you guys can take right now and start doing on your own. And then we are going to spend time doing a Q&A. So I did shorten the presentation a little bit from the first time, took out some stuff that, maybe isn't as important. That way we would have some more time for Q&A. But I will stay on for as long as you guys need to. So just quick disclaimer on this. I am not a doctor. All of these things, these types of knee pain things that we're going to get into, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to diagnose anything for you. I'm just giving you the information that has worked for not only me, but hundreds of clients that we have worked with. If you do have really bad knee pain and you're not sure what the deal is, then go see a doctor, please. But don't use this as like a diagnosis. I'm going to take you guys through a test. It's meant to give you some information, but it's your responsibility to be responsible with this. Okay. Go see a doctor if your knees hurt that bad. Before we begin, I am going to be asking you guys to be interactive while we are in here. I want you guys to, be paying attention and interacting with the things that I'm asking you to do. So I do want you to be in a spot where you can type and you can do things like that, or we're actually going to have a activity break. So the first thing, just to kind of set the stage with this, I want to know how long you've had knee pain. So if you've had knee pain for less than 3 months, go ahead, put a fire emoji in the chat. If you have knee pain for 3 to 12 months, I want you to put this little exclamation point sign in here. I understand this might take you guys a minute to find. Or if you've had knee pain for over a year, I want you to put the siren, because this is like an emergency level at this point. So take a minute, and whichever one of those fits best for you, just throw that in the chat. I want to see where we're at. Really quick, I want to give you guys a little bit of backstory just so you know where I'm coming from this. And I've been playing volleyball since I was in high school, actually since I was in middle school. And so my knee pain has been around for a long time. It started when I was 16 years old. In high school, I was an all-state high school player, so I was first team all-state. I'd already been lifting for years. I just didn't know how to lift to help with knee pain. I had no idea what to do. All I knew how to do was like the stuff and the gimmicks. So like ice packs. I took a leave taking painkillers before practice just to make it through practice. This is as a 16-year-old, by the way, as a teenager. Ice packs every day, icy hot, whatever it is, trying, random supplements that are supposed to help that don't do anything. I had no idea what to do. But then when I got to college, I played D1 in college, so I played for Ball State University, but it also got a lot worse because we're playing way more volleyball at that point. So like I said, I played D1 for Ball State. At that point, we had an entire athletic training team that was able to help us with what we were doing. So we would do PT, we would do heat, we would do the E-stim units. I would have to wear sleeves. I wore actually sleeves and knee pads, and then take like sneaking NSAIDs because the athletic trainers didn't want us to take it. They're just looking out for our livers, which is why we got to get you guys off of those. And I would ice every single day. I would leave practice with an ice pack on each knee, an ice pack on my lower back, and an ice pack on my shoulder. This was before we knew that ice was potentially making it worse, not only not helping, but potentially making it worse. So I would ice every single day just so I could play volleyball the next day. And it got so bad that after I got done with college, I quit volleyball for 5 years and went on a journey, not only to just explore different routes of like exercise and things like that, but to try and fix my body. I was so burnt out from volleyball. My body hurt so bad that I quit volleyball for 5 years. So from there, I decided that the best thing to do was to start doing CrossFit. So I tried CrossFit. I did Olympic lifting. I got into a lot of, this is when I was in grad school for sports performance. I got into a lot of the physical therapy side of things, or that type of the mobility and the foam rolling and stretching. That's when this was really big. If you guys remember the book Becoming the Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett, that's when that book came out and was extremely popular. And I want you guys to just take a guess. So put it in the chat. It's not a trick question. From doing CrossFit and doing things like you see here, do you think my knee pain got better or worse from doing that? Just throw it in the chat. Not a trick question. Worse, worse, worse. Mm-hmm. Crazy, right? Who would have thought? Squatting every single day with no regard. You can see I actually have knee sleeves on. They're just around my shins in this picture because I would just destroy my shins with snatching and cleans. And it did. It got worse. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to lift for recovery or performance or how to get rid of knee pain. And obviously it got worse. So like I said, this is years of me I have a degree in exercise science. I have a master's degree at sports performance in this point, but I didn't know what to do to get rid of knee pain. So I listened to PTs and all they would talk about, the guys on Instagram, they're like, avoid stress on your knees. You have to strengthen your hamstrings and strengthen your glutes and, all these different things. And it didn't work for me. It just didn't work. I did all of the exercises that they were telling you to do. And I would still end up needing to squat just to be able to squat like you see in this picture. Not only knee sleeves, but knee wraps just to be able to do it pain-free to the point where I could squat the weights that I wanted to squat. So there was one point where I actually had to stop squatting completely. It was at least a month. I don't remember how long it was. Pretty sure I tore my meniscus actually, because the pain was so bad that I just had to stop squatting and just do a bunch of other stuff instead. So like I said, I relied on sleeves. I relied on wraps. I could not do leg exercises, could not do any kind of squatting without those type of things to basically hold my body in place. So then everything changed in 2020. I got introduced to Knees Over Toes guy. This is when he was just kind of coming up and getting really, really popular. And he changed the way I looked at knee pain. So he was the first person that I heard that said you need to put your knees under more stress so that they can adapt and learn how to handle the stress of the activities we're doing. So where everybody else was saying you have to avoid things on your knees, let your glutes do the work, strengthen your hamstrings. He was the first person that said, no, you need to strengthen your knees, the muscles and the ligaments around your knees so that you can, handle jumping and handle landing. And so I ended up doing his workouts for 18 months. And of those 18 months, 6 of those, I was also in ATG for Coaches when it first started, which is his coaching program that he offers, like his mentorship thing. And, with that, some things got way better. Anything that was tendon related, which we're going to talk about the difference in a little bit, that all got way better. Some of it got way worse, which is kind of the PFP type of stuff. And so that also through algorithms, right? Instagram and YouTube led me to other guys, PJF Performance, Jake Tura, these type of guys who were all talking about different things for knee pain. And Jake Tura is really big on popularizing isometrics just within my space, all game changers. And then I took other things from there, things like triphasic training, which is what we still use for all of our clients, and the tempo training and how tempo training helps your knees and your ligaments adapt and everything like that. All of that started to just culminate into what I've learned now and the system that's been working. And then so that led me to creating the Volleyball Ability online program in 2021, which actually started as a home gym program because not all of the gyms were open back up yet. But I was able to take all of those things, put them together in a program. I got myself pain-free in 2022 for the first time, basically in 16 years since I was 16 years old. And since then, I have had 0 long-term jumpers knee issues. Every once in a while, I'll get some flare-ups if I play a lot of volleyball or if I do something stupid, but then I can very quickly handle it with the information I'm about to tell you guys. And I actually remember the day that I played volleyball for the first time with no knee pain. So I was playing at Neo Sports Plant, which is like the indoor beach volleyball facility we have. And I got done and I realized I played with like no pain, no knee sleeves, no NSAIDs, basically for the first time in my entire life. And it was like such a crazy moment. I almost cried because I just thought that that was just a world that would not exist to me at the place that I was at. I thought my knee pain was so bad that I would never be able to play pain free again. But with the information that we're going to go over today, these are a lot of things that were massive in helping me get there. So really quick, I want to highlight some results and some of the things, some of the people that we have worked with, the ideas, give you guys an idea of what we can do. This is from one of my one-on-one clients. She said, I wanted to tell you that even though I started your program 5 days ago, I already feel better. Both knee and shoulder pain feel improved and I have less pain. I'm shocked. Is that normal? So 5 days into doing some of the things we're going to talk about, and her knee and shoulder pain were already getting better. This guy said, I also want to say how much your program has helped. After 10 months, I was able to do a week and a half of volleyball training without any knee pain at all. Before, I would have to ice my knees after just a few games and take ibuprofen. I had forgotten how it feels not to have pain all the time. Let me move my chat. This one says, first day of the new cycle felt great. I had zero pain, even on the plyometrics. So this one's crazy. Didn't even need to warm up to get to zero pain. Walking in the gym, I already felt healthy. That's wild. Last one. So far, I'm liking it. My knees are feeling better. I'm surprised that it's working so well for knee pain, which is like, we get that a lot because people like me thought that they had just had to deal with it forever. Still have to improve in form, but I'm looking forward to sticking with it. So it can be a surprise with this because like realistically, things like jumpers knee and the stuff we're going to talk about, it's not that hard to get rid of when you actually know what to do. And that was my problem. I just didn't know what to do. So now I'm here to give you guys that information. So before we get into that, we do have to talk about the different types of knee pain because there are essentially two distinct things that you need to understand with this. This is the one we're going to be talking about today, and this is the tendon issues. And this is what most people suffer with. This is things like jumper's knee. So that would be, tendonitis or tendinosis is what we're going to talk about. Tendonitis is essentially acute or short-term knee pain, generally caused by inflammation in the knees. It's not like a massive amount of damage, but it's more of that short-term pain. So those of you guys who are putting the fire emoji or the yellow sign emoji, you're probably dealing with more tendonitis. But then there's tendinosis, which is more long-term, and it's basically when tendonitis goes untreated for too long, it can become tendinosis, and it's more actual damage and less minor damage or inflammation. Now, jumper's knee can exist either above or below the kneecap. This can just help you guys identify yourselves a little bit. And if it's below your knee, it's called patellar tendonitis. If it is above your knee, it's called quadriceps tendonitis. And the way we go about the exercises we're going to talk about here changes a little bit based on which one of those you have. But I think it's just good for you guys to have that information so you can help identify which one you're dealing with. And essentially what happens with tendonitis, in short, is that the tendon can't handle the stress and the load that we're putting it under. So anytime you jump, anytime you land, anytime you step funny, it's putting more pressure and stress on your tendons than they are prepared for, and then it causes pain. The other type of knee pain is PFP, or patellofemoral pain syndrome. This is not what we're going to be talking about today. This is a whole other discussion of how we manage this, and we just don't have time to get into that today. This can also be called anterior knee pain, which you can tell between patellofemoral pain syndrome. And so patella, kneecap, femoral, femur, and anterior knee pain. Anterior just means front. Like this isn't really giving you a lot of information on what you have. It's a very general term. So it's very vague. It basically means everything else that isn't just tendonitis. So it's super vague. These are also things that are like within the knee, such as chondromalacia. Chondromalacia is something that I still deal with. It's where the cartilage on the backside of the kneecap gets like roughed up and it caused damage that can cause some pain. It is caused from kneecap tracking issues, which are caused by like muscle imbalances. So if the kneecap is getting pulled one direction or the other, it starts to rub on the femur and it can cause some damage. So this I've actually treated the best at this point with nutrition. So reducing inflammation in the joints is the best thing I've done to help with chondromalacia. But again, it's not what we're going to talk about today. So really quick, what I want to do is we're going to take an activity break, and I'm going to ask all of you guys to do this and participate because this could be very much life-changing here. So really quick, if everybody could just stand up, I'm going to take you through an exercise. We're going to do an isometric hold, and this is going to give you some really valuable information. So everybody take a second, stand up. Not a lot of you guys have your cameras on, but I do want you to try this. I'm going to do it with you. So go, for real, stand up. Even you guys on Instagram, you can do this as well. Stand up. We're going to try this. So you guys are going to get into this position. and I'm going to start a timer, and we're going to hold this. Don't go until I tell you to. We're going to hold this for 30 seconds. And all I want you to think about is getting slightly into the pain. So finding the pain, leaning into it a little bit, holding it for 30 seconds, and then paying attention to, does the pain get better or does the pain get worse? Okay. That's all we have to do. So I'm going to stand up. I'm going to move my mic because I realized last time you guys couldn't hear me. But we're going to go. So get in this position. You can see knee is over the toe, heel is slightly elevated, and then you just need something to hold on to. That's all we're going to do. Ready? 3, 2, 1, and go. And we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. And again, I want you guys to just find that pain point wherever it starts to hurt. Luckily, nothing hurts for me today because this is working. And then just lean into that and then just start to pay attention as we go. We're almost halfway through already. Does the pain start to get better or does the pain start to get worse? And I just want you to pay attention to what you're feeling. If it starts to get better, maybe you can get a little bit deeper into that range of motion and you can kind of push yourselves there. 3, 2, 1, and time. All right. You guys can sit back down. You can actually, if you need to, take a second to try the other knee as well. But what I want to know from that is, did the pain get better or did it get worse? So I want you guys to put it in the chat. Did your pain get better or did your pain get worse during that time? So if the pain got better, feels better actually, great. If the pain started to go away, you may have a tendon related issue, which is good because that's easier to deal with. If the pain doesn't go away or if it got worse, it's probably either not a tendon related issue, like something more like PFP, or it might be tendinosis. So it might be bad past the point of something like a simple isometric hold helping. But for those of you guys, which most people said it got better, that's perfect because everything like this is going to be huge. And we know that what we're going to do is most likely going to help you. And I'm being intentionally vague because I can't promise anything, right? But statistically speaking, this stuff is going to help you. So I do want to take a second to explain why this works. So isometric holds have this natural pain reduction benefit to them. And essentially what happens is when you're dealing with pain, your body doesn't trust that you can go through a range of motion without hurting yourself. So as you do a squat or something, your brain is like, oh, I think you might get injured if you do this. So I'm going to send these pain signals out so you don't injure yourself. But when you do these iso holds and you start to hold that time under tension in that position, you actually tell your brain, no, it's okay. I'm not going to get injured if we do this. So you can allow me to go through this. And your brain says, okay, I'm going to turn down those pain signals so that it doesn't hurt anymore. And that's why it helps. It will come back if that's all you do, but that's why you get immediate relief from that. So what we're going to talk about is you can actually just what we just did, like you can just spam that really as often as you want. Anytime you start to get knee pain, we're going to talk about that as one of the recommendations we get to in a little bit. But the fact that it helped for so many of you guys is going to be really huge. Okay, got through that. Thought I deleted that slide. That's okay. What to stop doing. So I do like to get the negative stuff out of the way first. So we're going to talk and start with the things that you guys would need to stop doing depending on the level of activity we're at. So first of all, you don't want to stop all movement. You just want to stop and limit what hurts. So one of the worst things you can do is you're like, my knee hurts. I'm going to take 2 weeks off from doing anything and I'm just going to rest. And then, it's going to stop hurting and it's going to get better. And that essentially gives you like a false positive because as soon as you pick the activity back up, the pain's going to come back if you don't do anything about it. Injuries need blood flow to heal, meaning that if, they're going to get blood flow regardless, but we need movement to go through that system so that they can start to heal and get better. So when we do exercise, we pump blood through the joints, we pump blood through the tissue, and that allows them to heal faster, which is why we can't stop all movement. And then I have my number one rule for injuries. Jen, you're not allowed to answer this. But do any of you guys in the chat know what my number one rule for injuries is? There's 2 parts to it. I just posted it not too long ago. If anybody knows what it is, then post it in the chat right now. I'll give you guys 10 seconds to see if anybody knows it. Stop doing what hurts. Okay, Muhammad, that is half of it. All right, time's up. Oh, do as much as you can, but don't do what hurts. Perfect. Yeah, that's it. Good job, Anthony. Where did my cursor go? Do everything you can that doesn't hurt, but don't do anything that does hurt. So to emphasize, do everything you can that doesn't hurt, but don't do anything that does hurt. So if your knee hurts and only one knee hurts, you got your whole other leg, you got your whole upper body, you've got your hip on one side, you've got your ankle on one side. You can still do a lot of things. You don't need to stop doing all activity just because you have knee pain, right? So that's my number one rule. And this is regardless of injury. You should be able to do this. So again, things that we're going to stop doing. You may need to reduce jumping or volleyball temporarily, just depending on how your bad is and how much you're playing. If you can, sometimes you can't, like if you're in season or something like that, and or you're playing professionally and you just have a lot of practices, sometimes you can't stop, but you can do something like asking for some jump free practices where you're not practicing every single time. And on that same vein, you want to reduce or eliminate workout jumping on your own. So for now, you want to take jumping out of your program because it's basically too high velocity. And normally I would talk to you guys about our return to play protocol. I did have to remove that from the presentation because it was just taking too long. But there is a way you can properly work your way back into jumping that we go through with our clients. So we don't have time to go over all of that today and keep it as kind of, a little bonus for them. But you do want to reduce or eliminate if you need to. Again, depends on how bad your knee pain is and how often you're playing. It's okay to take a break from jumping. And like I was saying, we will tell you when to start back up if you need to. Other things on the side of stopping, you can wear a knee sleeve for volleyball if you need to, but you never want to wear it for lifting. Okay. You can wear it for volleyball if you need to, but never wear it for lifting. And unless it's medically necessary for lifting, then it's fine. Like if you're coming off of a surgery or something like that. But if wearing a sleeve or a brace allows you to have a pain-free practice, then it's fine. Ideally, we don't want to, but we also don't want it to get worse in practice. If we need a little extra stability or compression, not a big deal. But just know that this is a short-term band-aid. This is not healing you. This is not fixing the problem. It's just masking the pain. So we still have to do all of these other things to make sure that we're actually healing. And then again, don't wear it for lifting unless it's medically necessary. We don't want to mask painful movements that could be causing more harm. So long story short, this will be on the next slide, but we don't want to there's no exercises that are so important that you have to do them and work through pain for it. Okay. So again, stop doing things that hurt. And this is the last part of this. Even if I told you they're good, you're like, oh, Greg said this is the best exercise or this is good for knee pain or whatever. If it hurts, don't do it. And there is one very specific situation where it's okay to lean into a little bit of pain. And that would be what we just did, which is on the isometric side. And in reviewing this, also on the warm-up side, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well, it's essentially the same theory. But that's the only time where I do feel like it's acceptable to kind of work through that little bit of pain because it's going to go away and we're actually making the pain lower. Yeah, like we talked about, pain may subside as you hold the ISO. Everything else, there's always a regression or there's always a substitution that we can do to make up for that exercise. So whether it's reducing range of motion on the squat, doing a single leg squat instead of a bilateral squat, there's always something we can do. There's no exercises that are so important that you have to work through pain to do them. And eventually over time, you can reintroduce those exercises if you want, if you get to the point where they're pain-free. Okay. Time for the good stuff. We'll get into the stuff that you should start doing, which is why I'm imagining that most of you guys are here. So what to do instead? The stuff we're about to talk about is just things I have personally done to eliminate my lifelong chronic knee pain that started when I was 16 years old. It was up until 30, which is actually 32. And then what I've also used to help hundreds of volleyball players just like you do the exact same thing. So again, I showed you the testimonials. I showed you everything. If you do this and you take it seriously, this will work. So what to start doing? First thing is the backwards treadmill. This is what when we have knee pain clients, every single one of them warms up every single workout, either going backwards on the treadmill or the next one is going backwards on the sled. And the reason this helps is very similar to like an isometric type position, but it gets your knee over your toe with every step, which is putting a lot of pressure on those knee tendons and muscles, and it helps to strengthen them. I will give you a disclaimer. Do not do the dead mill. No shade to Ben, knees over toes guy. I don't know if he still recommends the dead mill, but I do not. And that's basically where you keep the treadmill off and you put your butt against it, similar to how I'm showing here, but you have it turned off and you're pushing it against the internal resistance. I do not recommend that because you can potentially break the treadmill. You might not, but you also might. So whether it's your treadmill or at the gyms, it's a huge pain in the butt if you break someone's equipment. So just don't do it, especially because it's not necessary. Instead, I recommend going to a 15 speed or a 15 incline, 15 incline, and going to a speed of about 1.5 and see how that feels. So the incline is going to force, because you have to step higher, is going to force your knee to go over your toe more. And the lower speed allows you to really kind of push through your knee a little bit more. And keep in mind that is 1.5 miles per hour, not 1.5 kilometers per hour or whatever everybody else in the world uses. So, because those are very different. And the other option is if you do have one of the resisted self-propelled treadmills. So it's the one you guys see me use in my garage. Some places like Lifetime might have it, some like bougier gyms. If there is that resistance lever that you can turn up and down, you can use that as well. If you're lucky enough to have that in your gym or crazy enough to purchase one like I did. But every gym is going to have a treadmill. So basically anybody has the ability to do this, which is why we use it so much. The protocol for this is if you have knee pain, starting 5 to 10 minutes at the start of every single workout, at least 3 days per week. So all of our clients either do 2 upper body days and 2 lower body days, or an upper lower full. So on their lower body days or their full body day at a minimum, they are going to do this as a warm up, and then potentially on an additional day if they need to. We can also do that. Over time, you can reduce to 3 to 5 minutes, 1 to 2 per week if you want. As your knee pain gets better and better, you can reduce the time so you don't have to go quite as long. Your knees will get warmed up more quickly. The other half of this is the backward sled. And not as many people have access to this, so I put it second. But if you have more of a distance you can actually do the same protocol. So you can do a lower load and you can go for 3 to 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes without stopping. This is obviously going to be with a lighter weight. Or you can go heavier weight, but go down and back and work on increasing the load over time. And this is going to be maybe if you're a little bit healthier, because that higher load, you're obviously going to feel that, but it's something you can progress to. No matter which one you do, you want to increase the weight over time, right? So over time, you got to make sure whether you're doing 5 to 10 minutes, you start with one plate, then you go to 2 plates, whatever it is, or as you're going heavier and heavier, you need to continue progressively overloading so your body can continue to adapt. That's going to be a big overarching kind of theme for the rest of this protocol is we have to keep progressing with what we're doing. Next thing you can start is isometric holds. We just tried this. Some of you immediately noticed that it worked. And this is really good for tendonitis. It's not as good for PFP. Something like I'm demonstrating here with the leg extension ISO could make your PFP worse, or even that Peterson step ISO we did could make your PFP worse. So you just have to try it and see. But some examples would be like a split squat, the Peterson step we just did, the leg extension that I'm showing here, or something like a wall sit. Those are all going to be really useful isometric holds that you can do to help with this. The protocol for this, start at two sets of 30 seconds. You can even work your way up to 3 sets of 45 seconds if you need to just go a little bit more. And again, we do want to continue increasing the weight. We need to progress over time with the weight or the time or both, right? Ideally, both. You can do a heavier weight for longer, means you're going to be a lot more prepared. And the way we progress with these things is just like the way we progress with muscles. If you squatted the same weight every single time you squatted, you would not keep getting stronger. So we need to make sure you can continue to progress over time with these. There's a bonus here, and this is going to be long duration ISOs. This is one of the new things. There's 3 new things we're going to talk about that I haven't really talked about that much publicly. One of them is long duration ISOs, and this is something you would do at the end of your workout, and you would go 2 to 3 minutes on each leg as opposed to 30 to 45 seconds. So it's really good at remodeling the collagen, remodeling the tissue, working on a lot of, honestly, fat. That sounds crazy, but fast twitch muscle fibers. I know that doesn't make any sense, but it works for that longer duration, 2 to 3 minutes. So something to try. I typically do this with a split squat, and I'll do 2 minutes or so on each leg. Another new thing we can talk about is daily ISOs. So again, if you guys remind me, put in the chat if you guys got some relief from doing the ISOs. So put just a fire emoji in the chat if we did that ISO in the beginning and you guys got some pain reduction benefits from that. So we have had clients not only do ISO holds every single day, but do them up to 5 times a day for that 30 to 45 second protocol when their pain is acting up. Basically, anytime they would feel pain or be stiff or they were sitting for a while, they would just pop into an ISO hold and they would go and do this Peterson squat ISO hold as many times a day as they need to. So I had a client, his name was Fareed, came to me with really bad knee pain after doing another popular online knee pain program, and it got him some results, but he got plateaued. So when he came here, the first thing we started doing is daily ISOs. And then he got on a call. He's like, everything's going really well. Like my knees feel amazing. He's like, I've been doing the Peterson step like 3 to 5 times a day, anytime he needs to. And it was crazy because he got insane results over the course of like 2 weeks, like total transformation in how his knees felt from doing this. And this is so good because it doesn't cause any damage to the muscles and the tendons like lifting would. So it's not going to make you sore. And that's why you can do it so frequently. Again, not only every day, but multiple times a day, is because it doesn't cause damage in the same way that, if you squat it every day, like you'd get sore, right? You're not going to get that with this. So if you're someone who put that fire emoji in the chat, like you got relief from doing the ISO drill, then you can start to do this anytime your knees start to act up. Just pop into that drill, hold it till the pain goes away, and you could be potentially very surprised at how your knees transform. Last thing on here that's new. This is oscillations. And oscillations are essentially the gap between isometrics, which are not moving, and super fast athletic movements, which are moving very quickly. There's a really big gap there where we're doing the isos, we're doing the lifting, but it's not necessarily like we can recreate the forces of athletics in the weight room, but we can't recreate the forces at the same speed with athletics in the weight room. So oscillations help with that. That's essentially think getting into a split squat position and then just like lightly bouncing up and down in that position. So instead of just holding it as an ISO, you're just lightly bouncing up and down with that. So it's a really quick contract and relax of the muscles. Now that I'm saying it out loud again, we do want to get to the point where like we're really bouncing with just our connective tissue system a little bit more, so our fascia and our tendons, and that's going to help you become a lot more efficient as well down the line. And so it gets those higher forces into the tissue faster. So you guys can actually try this right now as well, is just to stand up and you can even get in that same Peterson ISO position and then just start to kind of bounce in there. And you can feel like it's a higher level of force that happens much more quickly. And so that's going to be a much more similar stimulus to playing volleyball. And so you can, like I said, bridge the gap. So you can do this as a split squat, you can do a deep squat, or you can just do like an athletic defensive stance and just start to bounce up and down in those positions. And that can actually, you can transfer that to like something like deep tier plyometrics, where you are then physically jumping in those shorter ranges of motion. So as an example of how you can do this, set one, you could do an isometric hold. That'll start to get rid of some of the pain. Set two, you could do some oscillations where now you're getting a little bit more athletic. And then set three, you can do a deep tier plyo where now you're physically jumping and bouncing in that movement. And that helps transfer all of that to sport. Next thing that all of our clients do is triphasic training. And I want you to just think about this as tempo training. So what that means is we spend 2 weeks going down slowly on all of our exercises. And, it's going to be a 5 to 6 second eccentric on everything we do, which means think about a squat. As you're going down, you're going to go 5 to 6 seconds down really slowly. If you have knee pain, you can do this for 2 to 3 weeks on all knee related exercises. But if you want overall really good performance benefits, then you can actually do it on all of your exercises, like not just knees and not just lower body. We do it on basically every single exercise, unless it's super dynamic, like a med ball slam or something like that. But you will be astounded at how strong you feel after you do this, especially after you do this, which is the pause reps. That's the second half is the isometric reps. And so for this, you're going to do a pause either at the bottom of the rep or at the position of highest tension. And you are going to hold that for a 3 to 4 second pause. And then you're going to follow and do this for 2 to 3 weeks on all knee related exercises, or again, performance benefits from doing it on all exercises. So you're going to do 2 weeks of 5 to 6 seconds of slow eccentrics. So on the way down on a squat, on the way down on a bench press, going down on an RDL. Do that. We typically do 2 weeks. Then you're going to do 2 weeks of pauses. Would it also be a slow decentric? So I think you mean concentric, and we will get to that. Technically, no, but we will get to that. Then after that, you're going to do 2 weeks of pause reps. So down in the bottom of your squat, hold for 3 to 4 seconds, and then come back up. And you're going to do that on every exercise for 2 weeks. Now, to get that far, if you need to, kind of in more severe cases, you can do slow reps where the entire thing is slow. So in this case, we're going up slowly and down slowly. So it's like an example would be 6 seconds down and then 6 seconds up. Because one of the problems with if you're just doing the eccentric slowly is the speed of the concentric might still be a little bit too much for your knees to handle, depending on the severity of your knee pain. And so Coach Dion, who's one of our assistant coaches, had really good success with this for his Achilles, for his quadriceps tendon, and then actually for his shoulder as well. He's playing professionally in France currently, and he was talking to me about like maybe going back home and like not playing because all of his pain was so bad. He started to do more research. We started to talk about these things, and within just a couple weeks, his pain was gone basically. So he's now continued playing. He hasn't said a word about it since then. And so the reason this works, technically the reason all of these things work is because there's an increased time under tension. So the muscles and the tendons are under tension for a longer amount of time. And so what happens when you do that higher or that longer time under tension is you're training the tendons in a higher proportion than you would under normal tempo lifting. So like normally, like you lift at normal tempo, it trains your muscles a lot and it still trains your tendons some. But when you do these tempo training, it's still going to train your muscles a lot, but it's going to train your tendons in a higher proportion than if you don't do it, which is why one of the reasons why this is so beneficial. And last there, we got two more things on what to start doing. And that's going to be knees over toes exercises. So like I said, I spent 18 months in ATG working with Ben, doing his programs, and 6 months of those I was in his coaching program as well. And like I said, I had a lot of really good success with some of the things, and there were some things I just didn't like. So we just stopped using those, kept the stuff I like, got rid of the stuff I didn't like, and, mixed it in with the stuff that I liked more. And so there's a lot of things like his exercises, his lessons, his methodologies that I really appreciated. The exercises we'll talk about, but the concept of strength through length, I think is very legitimate. I think it makes a lot of sense as far as improving flexibility. So I kept it in there. Some of the main takeaways is that our knees go in front of our toes a lot. And so they have to be strong in those positions. Like in volleyball, it happens all the time. When we're landing, our knees go in front of our toes. When we're passing a short ball and we're in kind of that deep lunge position, like it's just, or even a ball to the side, the knee's going to roll over the toe. It just happens. We need to be physically prepared for that and not have that be a surprise to our body when those things happen. So I kept things like ATG split squats, Patrick steps, backwards walking, like we talked about, some TIB work early in programs. I don't really do sissy squats too much anymore. Maybe I've kind of been considering progressing back to that. I don't feel like I have the strength to do that currently. So maybe it's something I got to get back to. And then the last thing we're going to start is to strengthen the surrounding muscles. So this is when we went back to, this is what the PTs were telling me. They're like, strengthen your glutes, strengthen your hamstrings, all these things. There's some validity to that. But it's just not the only thing. There's other things we also have to do, but it is still important. So, if we really want to have the healthiest knees, it's not just about strengthening the quads and the patella tendon. The whole leg itself has to be balanced. So a good example is like your foot, ankle, and calf complex, which is essentially your first line of defense against knee pain because it's a shock absorber. So when you land, it's like toes first, and then your foot, and then your Achilles and your calf. The more load and the more of the impact that tissue can take, the less goes to your knee, and that's good. We want the knee to be prepared for the loads we're going to put it under, but we don't want to put it under excess load because the other muscles are weak. So we still have to train everything else as well. And so we still want to train the hamstrings. We want to train them in hip extension, which is like an RDL, and then knee flexion, which is like a leg curl or a Nordic. We want to train the glute max, and we want to train the lateral glute muscles, to make sure we're not getting into really bad knee valgus and things like that. Very misunderstood concept, but we still want those muscles to be strong. We don't want any muscles to be weak. We want to train all of them. Like no muscles want to be weak. And then this is why we have something called the strength goals tracking sheet within our one-on-one elite coaching, because we can look at your quad exercises, your hamstring exercises, your calf exercises, and we can easily identify if you have some muscle imbalances where like your quads are way stronger than everything else, or your quads are way weaker than everything else. We can see that in cool color-coded percentages really quickly so that we can start to train to fix those type of things. Putting it all together. Okay, you guys ready for the full workout? So first thing we talked about, we're going to do backwards treadmill 5 to 10 minutes. Again, working on pushing through the knee every time we do this. We're going to follow this with leg extension isos. You're going to start for 3 sets of 30 to 45 seconds on each leg. Do it as an individual leg. The picture I showed, I was doing both legs at the same time. You don't have to do that. I would recommend you do one leg at a time so you don't like force yourself onto one leg more than the other. After that, we are going to do a little bit of dynamic warm up. This is going to be for the hips and the glutes. So you're going to hit some 90-90 hip box, and you're going to do 10 of those on each. That's going to train your internal and external rotation of your hips to get you some mobility there. And we're going to pair that with some lateral monster walks where you have a band around your ankles and you're stepping to the side to train those lateral hip muscles. And this is just going to be as a warm up. We're going to follow that with some slow goblet squats. So we're going to do the 6-second down, 6-second up for 4 sets of 5. And if you want to, this doesn't have to be a goblet squat. You can substitute basically any squat you want for this. It can be a back squat. It can be a front squat. It can be whatever you want it to be. It can be a box squat if a certain range of motion hurts. That's what I've been doing these days, is just not going all the way down. But if your knee's really bad, do that 6 seconds up, 6 seconds down for 4 sets of 5. We're going to follow that with some eccentric leg curls. And so we're going to do 3 sets of 6 to 10 on each leg. Again, with leg curls, I like to do single leg when we can, or we're going to do an eccentric RDL for the same sets and reps. We're going to hit a Patrick step for 3 sets of 10 on each leg. And, just classic knees over toes guy. The reason I like this, and I have 2 quad exercises in here, the goblet squats are going to train your knee in full knee bend, and the Patrick step is going to train your knee in a bit more of a sport specific partial knee bend. So I like to have both of those in there whenever I can, just to make sure that we're hitting that full range of motion. So knee health through full range of motion, sport specific through partial range of motion. And then we are going to we're going to do this is not the last one. Eccentric calf raises, 2 sets of 5 to 10 on each side, going down really slowly into each rep to make sure we strengthen our shock absorbers. And then we're going to finish off with some long duration isos. You're going to do 1 set of a split squat for 2 to 3 minutes on each side, trying to just fight to maintain those good positions. So this is exactly I haven't used this. I wanted to write a new one for you guys, but essentially the protocol I've used with tons of athletes to allow them to get out of knee pain. Plus you get the bonus of some of the new things that a lot of people haven't been through yet. So you guys can take a second, screenshot this, write it down. I'm going to give you guys a minute to write this down because this is something that you can start to implement immediately that can help you get rid of your knee pain. All right, so let's recap. We talked about the different types of knee pain. We talked about tendon-based knee pain versus PFP. We went over some things to stop doing, and we didn't have a chance to talk about reintroducing, but we can do that at a different time. We talked about what to start doing. I gave you guys an example workout, and all of this information could potentially have you feeling like this, right? Because it's a lot of information. It can be hard to decide how to implement it, what you're supposed to do, and it could leave you, wondering like, what do we do with it, right? It's a lot of information. What do we do with it? So at this point, you guys have 3 options. Option 1 is that you do nothing. And you just keep doing what you're doing. Maybe you add a couple things here and there, maybe not, but probably not much is going to change. Statistically speaking, this is what most people would do. They would come to something like this. They would watch on Instagram. They'd say, yeah, Greg, thanks. That's really good information. And then they would never do anything with it. But not you guys, because you're here. You showed up. You guys have proven that you are action takers. If you guys could see the thousands of people who see my posts, see my stories, and even opt in but don't show up, you guys are the ones who are willing to take action to actually show up on something like this. So I know that this is not going to be you. You guys are not going to be the do nothing crowd. Option 2 is to do it yourself. I gave you guys the information. This is like I gave you all of the information I have on this. I gave you the secret sauce. And so implement it yourself, and it might work. It might not work. But the goal of this video was to give you my information. And so you do have the ability to implement it yourself now. Option 3 is to let me do it for you. And that would be the smart option. And I'm obsessed with perfecting the system. I took pieces from here and there. My goal, and the only thing I think about all day, is how to make this the even more effective training system for volleyball players. Because you probably have enough going on in your day already. You play volleyball, you have a job, you might have a family. Like, you shouldn't have to worry about what to do in your workouts and worry about how to fit all of this stuff together to fix your knee pain. So let me do it for you. Just a quick reminder of what we can do and some of the results we get with people. This is Sarah F. She added 5.5 inches to her vert and eliminated her knee pain in 12 weeks in her 30s. She also lost some weight along the way. I did an Instagram post about her. You can go and find that on there. She was very surprised at how well it worked because we weren't even really focusing on that. She lost weight, added inches to her vertical, and got rid of her knee pain in just 3 months. Cody lost 30 pounds and added 7 inches to his vertical in just 6 months and went from crippling knee pain being the main reason he joined to not only making his knee pain manageable and then finishing up on basically becoming pain free from a very, very tough spot. And he had such a good transformation that I did an entire YouTube video with him detailing exactly what we did. Christian is basically a professional grass player who came to me and he said he was not allowed to play any volleyball or do anything over the summer because the doctors told him he couldn't because his knees were so bad. And so he hit me up at the end of the summer. Within 2 months, we got him back to a 40-inch vertical. And just recently, he won an indoor tournament as a grass player, went and played an indoor tournament with zero knee pain and had no pain the next day, which we were honestly both surprised. I was expecting his knees to hurt because he's just not used to playing indoor. But because of the work we had been putting in with everything that I just showed you guys, he had muscle soreness, but he had no knee pain coming out of winning an indoor tournament. So you should, we know that, we can help. You guys should let us help you. But why should you do this right now? Just for being here live, you guys have a really unique opportunity. And I offered this to the last group. You guys are going to be the last people to hear about this before it becomes public. There's 9 of you on Instagram. You guys get to hear about this too. And if you guys are going to get access to some early Black Friday deals. So prices for one-on-one elite coaching are increasing in January. And right now, if you are able to book a call while I'm still live, not only are you going to get a decrease on the current prices with the discounts before they go up, so less than they are now before they go up, but you're also going to get a Black Friday bonus. And I understand that the holidays are tough. There's a lot of travel. There's a lot of parties. Your workouts become a little bit inconsistent, so people don't want to feel like they're missing out on the time they paid for. So I'm actually going to give you the rest of November and all of December added on to your program for free so that you don't have to worry about missing out on that time when you may not be able to be as consistent on your workouts. So if you sign up for a 6-month program, which is the most common thing that people do, you're going to get the rest of November, all of December, and then January, February, March, April, May, and June for less than the price that it normally is for a 6-month program because of these Black Friday deals and because you guys showed up today. But that's only if you book this call while you're still with me live. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unshare my screen. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. You guys can go through the application. It's going to take you directly to the application for one-on-one elite coaching. You can fill out the application. If you qualify, if you're someone that we work with, typically in the age range and everything like that, it'll take you to the call booking link, and then you can book a call from there. My spots are going to be a little bit limited right now because of everything that's going on, the performance coaching, Black Friday, everything like this. So definitely take advantage of this while you can because you guys are in a really good spot right now to get an incredible discount on this. So I'm going to go ahead and unshare my screen. I'm going to drop that link in there. And then if you guys feel like you want some help, feel like we can truly help you, then definitely take advantage of this opportunity to work with us at the lowest price that it's ever going to be. Because like I said, prices go up in January. So just one more thing on this, and I don't say this lightly, but one-on-one elite coaching is the best system in the entire world for online volleyball strength training. And whoever you just thought of when I said that, no offense to them, I'm sure they're great, but we're better. And the amount of coaching and support you get with one-on-one elite coaching is at a level that other people just straight up are not willing to do. And that's on top of, the workouts and everything else. So here's the truth. You're going to pay for this one way or another. And either you can pay me now and you can get it done the right way the first time and get results even faster, or you can pay with your time, learning, research, and implementing all of this on your own and probably end up paying more money in the long term anyway. So the choice is yours. And if you're not ready to dive in right now, that's perfectly fine. Please take this information, use it to improve your life, use it to improve your game. But if you are ready and willing to invest in yourself and see all of these things in action so you can finally get rid of your knee pain once and for all, plus all of the other benefits like jumping higher, hitting harder, getting in better shape, and overall just become a better volleyball player, then click the link in the chat, book a call, so we can talk about how we can help you. Again, the link is going to take you to the application for one-on-one coaching. It just takes a minute to fill out. And then if it's a good fit, you're going to be sent to the call booking link. If you've lasted this long, if you haven't left yet, then I know this is something you're considering and you want some help. So there's no harm in at least filling it out so that you see if you qualify and locking in these early Black Friday deals while you still can. And last but not least, I do just want to say thank you to all of you guys. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to you guys for being here. I appreciate you giving me your most valuable resource, which is your time. And hopefully this was helpful. So I'm going to stay on for Q&A as long as you guys need me to. I've got a lot of time set aside for this. So we're going to switch over to Q&A and I will take it from there.